and welcome to this video. Now today I'm going to be taking a look at this album by group Talking Heads. It is their album Fear of Music. So this review was requested by user Daniel Borden. So yes, thank you very much for requesting this. I'll just be doing the usual thing in this video, giving a bit of background information about the album, then showing you my vinyl copy of it, and then looking at each of the album songs in detail. So this was Talking Heads' third album, and it was their second, produced by Brian Eno. It was released on the 3rd of August in 1979. The band's last album, which was called More Songs About Buildings and Food, had done a lot to further cement them as one of the era's most important acts. They had expanded their sound beyond their first album, and had the first taste of commercial success, with the single from More Songs About Buildings and Food, Take Me to the River. So they started recording this album in the early months of 1979, initially without any producer. They were intended just to record demos, and they further rehearsed at Tina Weymouth and Chris France's home loft. However, those rehearsal sessions in their loft were going so well, and not wishing to lose the magic spark off those sessions, they called in Brian Eno to produce using a mobile recording studio. So that was set up basically to capture their sounds in this domestic setting. You really can't tell listening to this, because it does sound a very crisp studio production. Actually was recorded in someone's attic. So after a short promotional tour, the album was released in August to much critical acclaim. Also commercially done quite well, reached number 21 in the US charts, eventually going gold in 1985, and it reached number 33 over here in the UK. So as far as the title Fear of Music goes, I heard that the inspiration behind it was that you can follow the phrase fear of with any of the song titles, so say Fear of Mind, Fear of Air, Fear of Cities. However, not too sure how Fear of Zimbra or Fear of Memories Can't Wait fits in with that. But certainly considering that most of these songs are just one word song titles, that is that's quite a clever title they devised for it. So anyway, I will just show you my vinyl copy. This is a original pressing. It's got the textured sleeve. It's got this embossed. It's supposed to be this corrugated steel flooring design. It's not coming out too well on this camera though. There's the back again. It's plain as you can get with vinyl packaging. This copy is the original one, so it comes with this bonus 7-inch single, so you get live versions of Psycho Killer and New Feelings, I think both songs from their debut album. So they chucked that in with early copies, and it comes with a printed inner sleeve, so you get that on one side and then all the lyrics to the tracks. And this is just on the Talking Heads' usual Sire Records label, and it's I think this is a British pressing, not 100% sure, but yes, still a fairly early one on Sire Records. So anyway, I will now go over each of the album songs in detail. So I will each check out a 10, and then those scores will be used to give us a overall percentage marking for the album. So the album starts off with Zimbra, which is a African-inspired funk track. Lots of tribal chanting on it, other cool layers coming throughout the song, guitar work from Robert Fripp again. It's just got this a lot of Latin, African percussion on it as well. It is a bit unconventional way to start off the record, because when you put it on, you think, is this the Talking Heads? Is this the right record what I can listen to here? But it's that unconventional nature which made the Talking Heads a really, really great band. And definitely this song more than any other on this album certainly foreshadows the more rhythmic driven Remaining Light album. And thankfully this song isn't too stretched out. Certainly there would be a danger with this type of song that it would start to get a little bit boring. However, it's about 3.5 minutes, and it's just the right length, a nice way to kick us into the record. Also notably was the second single released from the album, and reached number 28 on the US dance charts. So yeah, that's Zimbra, good opener, 8 out of 10 from me. track up I absolutely love. It is called Mind, and I just think this has got a brilliant sound on it, brilliant arrangement on it. I really like David Byrne's vocal on it. He sort of puts on like this sort of like, he goes into this sort of character sort of like modes like really well, like on like this track here. Again, the instrumentation like off the song like is like really good. I would say though the reason why it's not a full 10 out of 10 for me is because like the chorus line, I need something to change your mind, is kind of a little bit repetitive, but overall the actual song, like sort of like the music, like the main sort of like lyrical theme like off like the track is really great. So yeah, we give that one a 9 out of 10. The next song up is called Paper, which is another really good track. Again, lyrically, sort of like classic like David Byrne territory, sort of like it compares a love affair to like a simple piece of paper. I'd say musically, it is probably out of these songs most similar in style to their first album, like with its sort of like jangly guitars and like more sort of like frantic like rhythmic touches. I like the pacing like off the track as well. Like I like it kind of like it changes like from slower sections like to faster sections. So yeah, I think that it works really well. Paper we'll get a 8 out of 10. And then the next track is possibly my favourite on the album. It's called Cities, which yeah, I just love this song. From the way the track sort of slowly fades in, and then we get Byrne's lyrics about sort of like someone like looking for like a place to live, like in like a city, like it goes like find a city for me to live in. Again, and like sort of like expresses feelings like of like not like belonging like to like any place. It's like be like an outsider like to society. Just a really catchy song, great production. Again, really clear, crisp bass work like from like Tina Weymouth like as well. And certainly like as like I was saying like earlier, this doesn't sound like it was recorded like in like someone's attic, you know, like it sounds like a proper full-on studio production, because it's just such a brilliant sound like on like this track. So yeah, a really good song there. Was a single like in some territories, however I think it like failed to chart like pretty much like everywhere like where it was released, which is a real shame because it is a really good song there. So yeah, Cities will get a 10 out of 10 for me. Absolutely love it. The next track is probably the most popular one on the album. It is Life During Wartime, which yes, the classic single from the album. This was originally born out like off like a band of jam session. Lyrically, it deals with a sort of like dystopian future, like where like this character like sort of like has to like sort of like hide out like in like this sort of like in like this sort of like retreat. Again, it's really catchy, just makes you want to move like and like dance about. It's this weird sort of like I've heard it described like as like apocalyptic funk. So yeah, it's just a wonderful song, like I think. It reached number 80 like in like America like as like a single, which it certainly should have done a lot better, because it is a wonderful song, and like actually like failed to chart like in like the UK like as a single, like, which is like a real shame. But yeah, just classic Talking Heads there. An easy 10 out of 10 for Life During Wartime. There's a party in my mind. Next up, I think could have been another single as well, but it's called Memories Can't Wait, which I'm not a massive fan of this track personally. It's got this sort of like jittery, sort of like throbbing riff like to it, very sort of claustrophobic and like slightly sort of like disturbing sort of like song content like on it. Really not a favourite track of mine personally. I can't really put my finger like on like why like I'm like not a massive fan of it. It's maybe just it just doesn't like have like enough like off like a sort of like a melody like in it for me, and like also lyrically is maybe not quite as interesting like as like some like other songs like on this album. But I can certainly see why people really like this track. Just for me, I think it is one of the weaker ones on here, so I would give it a 6 out of 10. Some people say not to worry about the air. And then we start side 2 with a song called Air, which is a more sort of keyboard driven track here. Really sort of catchy vocal hook, like I believe like it's Tina Weymouth like who like sings like the sort of like the chorus hook like on like the song like sort on like the songs like the really sort of like highly sung like Air like backing vocals. Just sounds really great. And music lyrics like about like a sort of character like getting like annoyed like about like the air basically. So yeah, it's just a funny song really. Like again like another like really another like really well sung, well played track. So we give it a 8 out of 10 for that one. Okay, now no doubt I'm going to get a little bit bashed for this track here because this is probably one of the Talking Heads' most well-loved songs, I would say. However, for me, it just doesn't do too much. It is Heaven, which, yeah, I'm just not crazy about this song. Again, the lyric, it's very bleak, like this track, like lyrically, like there's sort of like a hopelessness to it, like heaven is a place where nothing like ever happens. Again, it's just a very kind of sort of like on like the surface, like a very sort of like simple, like kind of like lyric to it. For me, I just find it sort of hard like to sort of like relate to, like and like connect with. Yeah, personally, I would say I prefer the live Stop Making Sense version, like of like this track, but even that is also like a little bit dreary. So yeah, for me, Heaven, not one of the better ones like on the album, but I would still give it a 7 out of 10 because it is overall a good song. Song is called Animals, which is a more sort of like intense, like sort of like juttery song, kind of what we need like at this point, like on the album, like coming after like the very slow and like sedate Heaven. Byrne does a sort of shouty vocal like on like this song, which lyrically is about a man like who fears that animals like are like watching him and like judging him. Again, it's sort of full of like paranoia, like this song, and like the whole album like as well. It's just very sort of quirky track, very sort of like interesting experimental vocal arrangement on it as well. So yeah, I would give that one an 8 out of 10. Overall, a really enjoyable song. And then the penultimate track is called Electric Guitar, which for me is another one of the fillery tracks like on the album. I've got sort of mixed thoughts about this. I mean, like on one hand, it's quite good lyrically, deals with sort of like things like censorship, like and the media, and like the production on it also like is really fresh. Certainly, like you couldn't like date this song, like so like it doesn't sound like that. Sounds like 1979. Like has a really sort of like timeless quality to it. Personally, for me though, this song though doesn't really go anywhere. Sort of like musically, it's a little bit dull, like, especially like the chorus, like where like it is just like the line like what's it, like never listen to electric guitar, that's sort of like repeated. So yeah, like doesn't really do much for me like this song like overall, but there are some nice bits to it. So yeah, we'll give it a 6 out of 10 for that one. And then the final track on the album is called Drugs, which is a more sort of like minimalistic track, really atmospheric this song like as well. Like I think it's a sort of like it's a good audio representation of the destructive things like what drugs can do like to like your brain. Like it's a really sort of like again claustrophobic, sort of like paranoid, sort of like confused track. But I think like a good, like a slightly odd way to finish like the record, like with this track here, like I think it works really well like as like a kind of a studio production like this one. Definitely you can tell like Brian Eno like has had like quite a big hand like in producing this song. So yeah, we'll give Drugs a 8 out of 10. Okay, so overall, this album scores 80%. So yeah, I think this is a good record, like from like Talking Heads. Probably not like their very best album, but certainly still like a essential record, like for any like sort of like Talking Heads, like or sort of like new wave like rock fans. It's often considered like a transitional album, and although it does have that feeling sort of like in it, like it's sort of like it does kind of straddle like sort of like the two eras, like sort of like the early like sort of like post-punk like sort of like Talking Heads, like the first two albums, and the more sort of like studio produced and like rhythmic like Remain in Light. I do also think this does stand up like as like a strong like artistic statement like in like its own right. And like yeah, like although I did say that like, it's not quite as strong for me as Remain in Light or like the debut album or like Speaking in Tongues, it is a strong, interesting record, which I probably would say like is like one of like these grower albums. Like it won't sort of like hit you first time like this record. Like it is one which does take like a few listens like to really like sort of like get into the sort of like the dense like sort of like music like of it, like and like really like explore like the lyrical ideas. So possibly like in like a few years time like this record like might have grown on me like a lot more. Like as it is though, I do think it is a really good album. Just for me though, not in like the Talking Heads like top 3 albums, like I would say like we'll probably be like the top 5, but maybe not quite to the same standard like as some of like their other work. So yeah, that has been my review of Fear of Music. So yes, I hope you have enjoyed. If you've got any requests for future reviews, please do leave them down below, and I will see you all next time for the next video. Goodbye.